Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. For almost a century, Farm Bureau has been a friend of the farm for all Virginians. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. This year's American Farm Bureau Young Farmer Chairman hails from Virginia. Fall is the best time to break out a Brunswick stew recipe. And speaking of that, Brunswick County is the site of our latest county agricultural close-up.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Boulevard Flower Gardens in Chesterfield County. One of Virginia agriculture's rising stars is Matt Fineman of Southside, Virginia. Norm Hyde reports this year's chair of the American Farm Bureau Federation's Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee took an unusual path to farming.
Matt Fineman used to work in human resources for a big corporation in Minnesota. These days, his office view is a whole lot different. He doesn't get to sit in a chair very long.
People ask me all the time, Matt, why did you move from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Virginia? And I always say, if you met my wife, you would understand why. I approached her and knew from pretty much day one that she was who I wanted to be with. And she made it very clear that if that was going to work, we were going to come down and move to Virginia and be on the family farm.
Good job.
I wasn't involved on a farm until I was 27 years old. I'm 35 now, and I've had to learn quickly. So the family farm has roughly over 1,500 acres in total. So we run a traditional cow-calf operation. We also do hay for our own use, and then we have timber as well. And then my wife and I also have a small flock of hair sheep, and then we do pasture-raised poultry as well that we process here on the farm and that we direct distribute. It keeps us very, very busy, and it's constant, one thing to the next, and we all seem to communicate well and manage it as it goes on. Been a big struggle, but it was a great opportunity for me to learn more about myself and find my identity. And through that process, I've been able to achieve quite a few things, and now I sit as the American Farm Bureau Young Farmer and Rancher Chair.
The American Farm Bureau Federation Young Farmers and Ranchers program prepares farmers from age 18 to 35 for leadership roles in the organization, from the national down to the local level.
A lot of people within Farm Bureau say this is probably the busiest role, volunteer role within the organization, because you are constantly, you're attending all your regular meetings and calls, but two, you're being invited to other states to attend their conventions or their conferences and speak. And I've gotten to meet people from across the United States that farm everything, any type of commodity you can think of, animals, row crops, whatever it is. And I've been able to interact and really see what it is they do day in and day out and the stresses they have. And my purpose is to advocate for the farmer. I think we have a lot of people advocating for the industry, but we need to advocate for these great people that get up every day, day in and day out, and they sacrifice for everything that is they are doing. And they don't have that support system. They don't have people to lean on, and they're humble people. By being new to agriculture and being able to sit in this role, I've seen how phenomenal those people are and what they are doing, and they need to brag about themselves more. We've made mistakes here in this country, and we have not tried to support people or push people to be on the farm or have these type of jobs, and we need to go back to doing that. Farmers feed America, farmers feed the world, and if we don't have people that are willing to do that and willing to be on the farm, we're gonna be in a tough spot. So I think by growing up initially and not having any background or understanding of it, I have a little better perception, and I'm able to speak to and advocate for the importance of why we need people on the farm and how we can embrace it. People have to be able to make a living at the same time, so how can we make that possible? It's near impossible to buy into a farm right now with the cost of implements and machinery and livestock. It would be quite crazy to say, hey, you know what, wake up one day and say I want to be a farmer. So how do we ensure that is something we're raising people and giving people that option to do? Virginia Farm Bureau, they gave me a home when I needed one. When I moved here from Minnesota and married my wife and started the family, I had an identity back home. And it changed, and I had to find a new identity. And that made for a rough patch. The first year of marriage Lindy and I had, we openly talk about it. It was difficult because I was refining who I was. I was learning about the farm. I was learning about agriculture. I was trying to find my place and fit into her world at the same time. And once she took me to my first Young Farmer and Rancher event with Virginia Farm Bureau, I started making those friends and I made those connections, and I sat back and I observed and I saw all of these phenomenal people and what it is they do day in and day out. And I started having those conversations, and they pushed me to be more involved. They said, Matt, we think you should be involved. We think you should be involved at the state level. Be involved on the state committee. We like what you have to bring to the table. And it's because I was complimenting what they do. I wasn't trying to recreate the wheel. I was acknowledging who they are and the importance of it. And I have built those great friendships. And they pushed me to go on and go after this chair role of American Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers. I think it's just so important to acknowledge that this organization isn't just about the farm. In Virginia, it's not just about the insurance company. We are a family. We are a unit. We're here to help one another as much as possible. And I truly believe that has helped me find what my purpose and what my calling is in life. And that is to be here and be in this role, and in the future to be able to advocate for farmers everywhere.
Feynman will continue traveling the country and promoting Agriculture and Farm Bureau until March 2024, when he will pass that role to the next Young Farmers and Ranchers Chairman. Reporting from Richmond, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde. There are at least 30 private or government programs around the world designed to educate and encourage young and beginning farmers who are starting their adult careers. In addition to the Farm Bureau's Young Farmer and Rancher program, there's the National Young Farmers Coalition and the Next Generation Foundation. There are also several organizations designed to help military veterans start their civilian life in agriculture. There's a beginning farmer and rancher program in almost every state run by the USDA. And the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services hosts a FarmLink program that encourages retiring farmers to connect with would-be agriculturalists.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about growing sweet potatoes from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call, because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Sweet potatoes are a popular root crop this time of year. Chris Mullins with Virginia Cooperative Extension visits an expert to show us how they're grown from the ground up.
Well, hi and welcome. Today we're at the Fauquier Education Farm. We're here with Mr. Jim Hankins, the executive director of the farm. Jim, today we're going to be talking about sweet potatoes and how to grow them. First of all, can this be something a home gardener can do?
Oh, absolutely. Sweet potatoes are, I heard you say earlier, one of your favorite vegetables. They're incredibly nutritious. They're really simple. You just got to remember a few basic things. Okay. One really big one, deer love sweet potatoes more than anything in the world.
Okay.
So you have got to have a way of keeping deer out of the patch. It really helps when you look out across here, you're not seeing a whole lot of weeds. You've got to have some sort of mulch, because it's going to be a big plant that is going to spread out some. These vines can go 10 feet in any direction. Okay. The reusable plastic landscape fabric works beautifully. I know right now you look at this patch, but back just a couple months ago, you didn't see vines all over the ground. You saw black woven landscape fabric. Okay. Other than that, planting dates are really important. Okay. Sweet potatoes like it to be warm. wait till after Memorial Day before you put them out into the field.
Okay.
Then wait until about October to harvest.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, you know, as we think about this planting, and like you said, it is just covered with vines, no weeds at all, because you've put that woven ground cover down. You've got them on a little bit of a hill. Yep. or a bed, right? Yep. Where you've just planted those small plants, the slips?
A little 6-inch slip, you know, a couple sweet potato leaves at the top with a few roots at the bottom.
All right. Well, as we're thinking about what's going on under this ground cover, I know you showed me a section over here we want to look at, and maybe let us know what's happening down there.
I brought the bush hog in really close, and I caught the end of a row, and this is just one plant out of 2,500 of them we have planted in this patch. You know, I expect a pretty good yield out of this patch, if that's what the very first plant is going to yield for us.
Look at that. That is a great yield for one plant, right? That's amazing. Well, I can see the plants look healthy. You've done everything right. Water, fertilizer, not a lot of problems, right?
Nope, nope. They want water. They want, you know, if you give them proper nutrition, they'll pay you back. They'll feed you again.
So you just pulled that up. What would you do when you're going to harvest this whole field, or if a home gardener had a row of these? How would they harvest them? Just about the same way?
Just about the same way. Get the vines cleared, then you put away the landscape fabric, and then I literally will take a potato plow through, and then we're literally just picking them up. Don't wash them right away. Okay. Just brush the dirt off. Let them dry. Keep them in a warm place for about a week, and that will cure the skin. You should keep them about 80 degrees for about a week. Okay. And then store them somewhere out of the sunlight. You know, don't put them in your refrigerator. That's the worst thing in the world you can do. Okay. And these sweet potatoes will keep you well into next summer.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Jim, thanks so much. Good tips on how to grow this, especially with a home gardener. This is a great one for them.
We need some salt and butter.
I know, I agree. Well, for more information about growing sweet potatoes in your garden, contact your local county extension office and talk to a master gardener. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Broley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, an easy peasy recipe for Brunswick stew. We hope you'll stay with us.
Our cow, she walks into the barn and she gets milked. Milk's taken from her and put through a chiller. And that milk's taken from body temperature of a cow, which is about 102.5, and dropped to 35 degrees and put straight onto a tractor trailer. And it goes straight to the plant the next day. So most of the milk that's sitting on your store shelves is probably less than 48 hours old. And that's a pretty good testament to how efficient we are.
Some say the secret ingredient to Brunswick stew is wild game. Never fear, Chef Tammy Broley has a much tamer recipe for her take on Brunswick stew, in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Broley from the Green Kitchen, and welcome to Heart of the Home. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a delicious recipe. It's Brunswick stew. It's great for the winter. I know there's some debate across the country as to where it originated, but I'm just going to show you what I think is a simple recipe. It's my favorite, and it's easy peasy. We're going to be using chicken today, but we're going to start with some chicken broth. We're going to put in about 2 quarts of chicken broth. What I love about this recipe is you could buy a pre-bought rotisserie chicken from your grocery store and just pull the meat off the bone and chop it up. And that's pretty much what I've done here. I've got about 1 pound of chicken to 2 quarts of chicken broth. We're going to put our chicken in the broth, already chopped up. You know, in the cooking world, mise en place means everything in its place. Any kind of prep that you can do ahead will certainly be a time saver for you. So we did 1 pound of chicken here into chicken broth. And now I have some onion. The recipe calls for about 1 cup or so You know, I love to talk to people about measurements. You don't see a cup measure here on my tray, but if you hold, you know, basically a handful, that's about a cup. So we've got about a cup or so of onion in there, maybe a little bit more. And then I have some frozen diced potatoes. These are great. They're already diced for you in the grocery store, and we have about a quart of those. We're going to put those in our stew. And then I have some frozen lima beans. And I'm sitting here thinking my pot might be too small. We'll see. And I have a quart of frozen corn. And I do choose frozen vegetables over canned vegetables because the frozen vegetables usually don't have any sodium in them, whereas your canned vegetables do. And sodium can sometimes be our enemy. So we want to be careful there. Now typically I would add a quart of tomatoes. This is going to be a very full pot. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some spices. We're going to let it come to a boil. And it needs to simmer for a little while before we actually eat it. This is also one of those things that's really better left over. But to this we're going to actually add about 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. Keep in mind that the recipe you see online is for twice as much. I cut this down for filming purposes. So we got about 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. We want some kosher salt to taste. That's kind of a hard thing. You might like more salt, you might like less salt. That's up to you. But if you've cooked for a while, you pretty much know what to put in it. So I usually put about half as much pepper as I do salt. And then I've got some crushed red pepper here, or cayenne pepper. I'm not going to add all of this. That would be far too much. We're just going to sprinkle a little bit over the top. And that's pretty much it. We're going to stir this up. We're going to let it come to a boil for about a half an hour or so, and then we'll taste it. I hope you'll stay with us. All right, so we're back with our Brunswick stew, and we've let it cook for about a half an hour or so. It can go longer. That's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about it. You do certainly want to let it cool off before you taste it, but this is one of those things that's always better the next day for leftovers. But we're going to go ahead and serve some here. I'm going to stir it up a little bit. And at the beginning we talked about vegetables, and I chose to use frozen vegetables. You do not have to thaw them. It's totally fine to leave them frozen. It's almost even a little bit better for the texture of the broth. So we're going to spoon this into our bowl. Smells absolutely delicious. And there you have it, a very easy recipe for Brunswick stew. Great for the winter on these cold nights and everything. Oh, and by the way, this freezes really, really well. So make it in a bulk quantity and put yourself a quart or two in the freezer. I'm Tammy Broley with the Green Kitchen. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Broley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
Brunswick stew is among dozens of traditional stew recipes that have been around since ancient times. The earliest known evidence of stew comes from Japan, going back as far as 14,000 BC. Ancient Romans had recipes for lamb stews and fish stews in their written histories. Amazonian tribes used the shells of turtles to boil meat and other ingredients. There are thousands of variations, but in essence, they all include simmering meat and other ingredients to create a liquid dish. Stews are still popular with cooks today, and they're a great way to use up leftover ingredients.
Located in Southside, Virginia, near the North Carolina border, Brunswick County is home to Brunswick stew. Folks here are proud of that fact. It's even part of the love sign at the county's visitor center. While noted for its legendary stew, Brunswick County depends on agriculture to keep its economy moving. Tobacco is still the largest cash crop here, but like everywhere else in Southside Virginia, the tobacco market changed significantly nearly 20 years ago when a price support system was dismantled. Today, many former tobacco farmers like Wade Bowen have turned to growing other crops. He's been farming here since he was 18.
We had tobacco with some mixed vegetables in the early years, but we stopped with tobacco in 2005, and probably 7-8 years ago, I went raising soybeans, and then but Probably 3 years ago we started in vegetables.
Bowen and his family grow English peas, sweet corn, soybeans, tomatoes, purple peas, and pretty much every other vegetable that can be grown in Virginia. On this day, his crew was unloading boxes upon boxes of sweet potatoes. Despite the NC State ball cap he proudly wears, Reggie Owens is a native Virginian. He grew up in Greensville County along the North Carolina border. He served 30 years in the military, then worked for the Greensville County government until 2 years ago, when he and his wife bought their property in Brunswick. They raise beef cattle on 100 acres that they own, and they lease more. He was exposed to farming at an early age.
I enjoy being able to see the fruits of your labor. You work hard, and the reward is you get to watch your calves be born. You get to see your hay grow. You get to see the hay harvested. It's one of those things, if you have farming in your blood, it kind of stays in your blood.
Owens sees a future for agriculture in Brunswick County, but he's also aware that over the next several years, solar power facilities are going to be developed in the county. That will impact local agriculture and forestry. He says county leaders have a plan to cap the number of acres for solar. As a veteran himself, he has some advice for service members considering a second career in farming.
Just do the research and check with the USDA office to see what funds are available to assist veteran farmers to get into business. And it's a lot of opportunities out there for farmers to work on a small scale and get some residual income from it.
There are 242 farms in Brunswick County, covering 66,398 acres. The market value of all agricultural products is $23,096,000. Crops bring in the most at $16,567,000. Tobacco is still the top crop in the county, delivering $11,114,000. Grains are way behind at $4,131,000. Vegetables, fruits, melons, and sweet potatoes bring in $646,000. Livestock accounts for $6,529,000, with cattle and calves generating $1,553,000. Of course, Brunswick County is known for the famous stew that bears its name, and there's no better way to experience Brunswick stew than at the county's annual Taste of Brunswick Festival in October. This year, the weather was cold, clammy, and soggy, but that is ideal Brunswick stew weather. Since a Brunswick stew can take 12 hours to cook, many of the so-called stew crews started at 1 in the morning or earlier to have it ready for the judges and customers. The large cooking pots like this one can hold about 200 quarts of stew, according to stew master Kevin Irby.
Stew masters come out and prepare their personal recipe of stew, carried back to tradition and the heritage of Brunswick County. And I know every fall, all the farmers and landowners will get together, cook a big stew, and they could feed their families for several days, weeks, or whatever from a stew pot like this.
After all those hours of stirring, most stew masters will know it's done when the stew paddle can stand straight up in the middle of the pot on its own. Each stew crew brings their own variety and flavor to the stew pot, and the different flavors reflect the diverse histories families bring to their recipes. Brunswick, Georgia also claims to be the home to the original Brunswick stew, but the Virginia tradition holds that it was made in 1828 by a camp cook named Jimmy Matthews serving a hunting party on the banks of the Nottoway River, and squirrel was the primary meat source. The Virginia-Georgia dispute is even part of the origin story for the modern-day Taste of Brunswick Festival.
25 years ago, there was a stew cook-off between Brunswick, Georgia, and Brunswick County. And Brunswick County won.
Jones is a lifelong Brunswick County resident who grows collards, broccoli, and sweet potatoes, much of which could be included in a Brunswick stew. It all depends on what you like. Brunswick County is proud of its place in Virginia's culinary and agricultural history, and the people here are adding to that legacy today. In Brunswick County, Virginia, I'm Burke Muller reporting. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Every spring and fall, Virginia farmers and other motorists nearly collide on rural roads. Sometimes these collisions can be dangerous or even fatal. Glenn Keller of Shenandoah County says when a car traveling 55 miles an hour suddenly meets much slower moving farm equipment, the odds of a collision shoot up.
It's pretty dangerous when you get out on the road because we have a lot of hills in this valley, blind hills where you don't know what may be coming on the other side of those hills. And when we move something wide like the piece of equipment behind me, we usually have an escort in front. But if the people don't pay attention to that, you have to be prepared to react pretty quick. We'll get to a blind hill and someone will follow you for a mile or so, and they finally get enough of it and want to go around, and they're usually upset and pick the wrong place.
Farm equipment operators are required to display a slow-moving vehicle emblem when they're on a public road. When you see that, or any farm vehicle, slow down. Give them plenty of space to do their job so you both can go home safely. This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation Safety Advisory Committee.
Hi, it's Amanda Weekley-Scott and representative of District 7 of the Virginia Farm Bureau Young Farmers. So how did FFA prepare me to become a young farmer? It was all about the connections. The folks that I met in FFA, I still talk to today as a young farmer involved in our wonderful Commonwealth's agriculture.
My FFA experience really got me out of my comfort zone. So much so that I really found a passion and a purpose in my life, and that was not only telling people about FFA, but making them smile each day. And I'm honored to say that I'm still representing the Blue Jacket today as a teacher.
Hello, Virginia FFA. My name is Courtney Henderson, and I'm a sixth-generation dairy farmer and a proud advocate for the agricultural industry. Through my experience as an FFA member, I learned to truly embrace my passion for not only the dairy industry, but for the agricultural industry as a whole. Now I get to do what I love each and every day with my career as not only the next generation of my family's dairy farm, but as an agriculturalist and an advocate for the industry that I love.
My time with the Virginia FFA Association gave me countless leadership development and personal growth opportunities. Most importantly, it allowed me the courage and the flexibility to not only become an agricultural career professional, but also own and operate my own farm alongside my husband.
I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds, which is why I joined the Virginia Farm Bureau Young Farmers Program. If you're looking for networking opportunities, ways to grow your ag business, and like competitive events, then head on over today and check us out at vafb.com/youngfarmers.
Thank you, farmers! We love farmers!
Thank you so much, farmers, for providing all our food to help us survive. Thank you, farmers.